Admiral John Carter stood at the viewing window of the human embassy, looking out at the massive Galactic Council station. The structure orbited Sirius B, its gleaming metal arms stretching out like a giant snowflake against the darkness of space. After 75 years as council members, humans were still assigned to the smallest wing of the station. "Admiral, they're ready for us," said Lisa Harrison. Her voice was tired. 6 years as Earth's chief diplomat had worn her down. Today would likely be her last council session. The Admiral nodded. "Let's get this over with." They walked together through the grand hallways. Alien species from across the galaxy moved past them. Some nodded in respect. Most ignored the humans completely. Lieutenant Eric Peterson joined them at the council chamber entrance. "Sir, I've uploaded the final data to your pad. The council can't claim they weren't warned." Inside the chamber, 200 representatives from 87 species sat in rising tiers. The humans took their assigned seats at the bottom level. Council leader Jotak, a tall blue-skinned being with 4 arms, called the session to order. The council recognizes the Freilian Empire's request to expand their colony rights in the Orion sector. John's jaw tightened. The Orion sector had been promised to humanity just last year. He glanced at Lisa, who nodded slightly. It was time. For 3 hours, they watched as the council approved new rights and territories for the founding species, while adding restrictions to newer members. When the Freilians were granted 5 systems in Orion, Lisa stood. "The council recognizes Earth Representative Harrison," Jotak said, his voice carrying a hint of boredom. "Thank you, council leader." Lisa's voice was calm but carried to every corner of the room. "I wish to present urgent intelligence about the Xalar species emerging from the outer rim. Our deep space sensors have detected a fleet of over 300 ships moving toward council space." A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber. "We have raised this warning 7 times in the past year," she continued. "Each time, we were told human intelligence was unreliable or exaggerated." "Your point, Representative Harrison." Jotak's upper arms folded across his chest. "My point is simple. The Council has consistently ignored humanity's contributions while taking our resources. You've broken promises, restricted our growth, and dismissed our warnings." Lisa paused, making eye contact with several representatives. "Earth has contributed 3 trillion credits to Council operations. We've provided 23 medical breakthroughs and 41 technological innovations. In return, we've received nothing but contempt." The chamber erupted in angry shouts. Jotak banged his gavel for order. "Humanity did not join the Council to be treated as children," Lisa said when the noise died down. "We joined as equals. Since equality is clearly impossible under the current structure, I am authorized to inform you that as of this moment, Earth and all human colonies are withdrawing from the Galactic Council." Complete silence fell across the chamber. "This is absurd," said the Freilian representative. "Humans cannot survive without Council protection and technology." Admiral Carter stood. "We've survived for thousands of years before meeting any of you. We'll manage." "This withdrawal violates 17 different treaties," Jotak said, his voice cold. "Treaties you've already broken," Lieutenant Peterson replied, standing with his superiors. "We've documented 312 violations by Council members against human interests." Lisa placed a data crystal on the table. "Our formal withdrawal notice, along with evidence of all treaty violations. We'll be departing immediately." As they turned to leave, angry shouts and threats followed them. A few representatives looked concerned, but most seemed amused by humanity's defiance. In the corridor outside, Eric asked, "Do you think they'll try to stop our ships from leaving?" John shook his head. "They think we're committing suicide. Why stop someone who's already doomed?" "Are we doomed, sir?" Eric looked uncertain. Lisa smiled for the first time that day. "Far from it, Lieutenant. For 75 years, we've shown them what we wanted them to see. Now they'll learn what humanity is truly capable of." The human delegation walked toward their ships. leaving behind a council that had no idea how much everything was about to change. President Catherine Wells stood before the United Earth Council in Geneva. The Grand Hall was filled with representatives from every nation. Screens around the room showed millions of citizens watching from across Earth and its colonies. "The decision has been made," she said. "After 75 years, humanity has withdrawn from the Galactic Council." Murmurs spread through the crowd. A delegate from Nigeria stood up. "Madam President, can we survive without council protection?" Catherine smiled. "We've been preparing for this day for 30 years. The public technology sharing was always a front. Our true capabilities remain unknown to the council." The room quieted as General Paul Mitchell stepped forward. His uniform bore the insignia of Earth Defense Forces, an organization most thought was ceremonial. "Operation Hidden Shield is now active," he announced. "For 2 decades, we've been building ships in asteroid bases and remote moons. As of today, humanity has a fleet of over 500 warships that the Council knows nothing about." Gasps and whispers filled the hall. On the screens, people looked shocked but strangely hopeful. "Each ship carries weapons systems developed by Dr. Olivia Grant and her team," General Mitchell continued. "Systems that were kept secret from our so-called allies." Dr. Grant stepped to the podium. She was small in stature, but her presence commanded respect. Her gray-streaked hair was pulled back in a practical bun. "The Council believes we depend on their FTL drive technology," she explained. "What they don't know is that we cracked the physics behind their drives 15 years ago. We've since developed our own version that's 30% more efficient." She pressed a button, and a hologram appeared showing the new engine design. "This is just one of 57 technologies we've developed but never shared. While playing the role of junior partners, we were preparing for independence." President Wells returned to the center. "Every factory across Earth and the colonies is switching to full production. We appear vulnerable now, but within 3 months, we'll have enough firepower to defend against any council aggression." A representative from Brazil raised her hand. "And our colonies? They're exposed." General Mitchell nodded. "We sent coded messages before the withdrawal announcement. Colony defenses are already activating. Each has hidden bunkers with weapons and ships." "The Council has sent messages," Catherine said. "They're threatening trade sanctions while offering to forgive our withdrawal if we return with apologies." The room filled with laughter. After decades of condescension from alien species, the idea of begging for forgiveness was absurd. "They believe we're having a tantrum," Dr. Grant said. "Let them believe that while we prepare." A priority message flashed on the main screen. A human diplomatic vessel was returning from Council space with visitors aboard. "Right on schedule," General Mitchell said. "Council representatives coming to threaten and bribe us." President Wells straightened her jacket. "Let them come. Our performance begins now. When they arrive, act concerned. Look worried. Let them think we're already regretting our decision." Dr. Grant smiled. "Meanwhile, my team will launch Phase 2 at our Mars facility. And I'll activate our sleeper ships near the Xeller territory," General Mitchell added. "If the intelligence is correct, we may find allies where the Council least expects." The Earth representatives stood in unity, many smiling for the first time since joining the Council decades ago. President Wells looked at the faces before her. For generations, humanity played the humble student. We learned their technologies, studied their weaknesses, and prepared for this day. They believe we cannot survive without them. Her smile turned determined. "Let's show the galaxy how wrong they are." As the meeting ended, messages arrived from 23 human colonies. Each one said the same thing. "We stand ready." The game had begun. The Council thought humanity had made a fatal mistake. Soon they would learn that humanity's withdrawal wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning. Captain Samuel Wright stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiant. The ship's stealth systems were active, making it invisible to most sensors. They were deep in unclaimed space, far beyond what the Council considered safe territory. "Captain, "I'm picking up unusual energy readings," said Officer Ben Lawson, consistent with a large fleet moving at sublight speed. Samuel moved to the sensor station. "Show me." The screen displayed hundreds of ships moving in tight formation. Their design was unlike anything in Council records. "That must be the sailor fleet," Samuel said quietly, the one the Council refused to believe existed. Communications Officer Maria Lopes looked up from her station. "Orders, sir. We should report this back to command." Samuel studied the fleet's movement pattern. They were organized, but not in an attack formation. Something about their approach suggested caution rather than aggression. "No," he decided. "We're going to make contact." The bridge crew stared at him in shock. "Sir, our orders were to observe only," Lieutenant Kyle Briggs reminded him. "The Council isn't giving our orders anymore," Samuel replied. "Humanity needs allies, not just information. Maria, prepare a first contact package. Standard greeting, translated into as many languages as our database holds." Maria nodded and began working on her console. "Ready in 3 minutes, Captain." Samuel turned to his first officer. "This could go very badly. Prepare escape coordinates just in case." The Defiant moved slowly toward the edge of the sailor fleet. They dropped their stealth field and broadcast the greeting message on all frequencies. The response was immediate. 20 smaller ships broke formation and surrounded the Defiant. "They're scanning us," Ben reported. "But weapons are powered down." A message appeared on Maria's screen. Strange symbols flowed across it, quickly being processed by the ship's translation system. "They're asking who we are and why we approach directly instead of hiding," Maria said. "They detected us before we revealed ourselves." Samuel raised his eyebrows. The sailor had seen through their stealth technology. "Impressive. Tell them we are humans from Earth, and we wish to speak about the Galactic Council." After Maria sent the message, there was a long pause. Finally, the largest sailor ship moved closer. "They're requesting to send a representative aboard," Maria reported. "Just one visitor." 20 minutes later, Sailor Commander Vrax stood in the Defiant's conference room. The alien was tall with iridescent scales covering its body. 4 eyes blinked independently as it studied the humans. "Your species was part of the Council," Vrax said in a rasping voice. The translator hanging from its neck made the words understandable. "Yet you approach us without Council permission." "We left the Council," Samuel explained. "They ignored our warnings about your fleet." "They've ignored many things." Vrax's scales shifted color slightly. "The Council has blocked our attempts at communication for decades. They tell others we are aggressive invaders." Maria stepped forward. "Are you?" "We seek new worlds to settle," Vrax replied. "Our home system is dying. We tried to negotiate with the Council, but they demanded we become servants, not members." Samuel nodded. It was a familiar story. "The Council species believe they are superior to all others," he said. "Humanity played along for 75 years while building our strength. Now we stand alone." Vrax studied him. "Not necessarily alone." The alien placed a data crystal on the table. "Council patrol routes, defense codes, weaknesses in their systems. We've been gathering intelligence while they pretended we didn't exist." Samuel looked at the crystal, then back at Vrax. "Are you proposing an alliance?" "An understanding," Vrax corrected. "Between two peoples the Council has underestimated." Samuel smiled. "I believe my government would be very interested in such an understanding." As they continued talking, Maria sent an encrypted message back to Earth. "First contact established. Sealer not hostile. Potential alliance forming. Council's biggest mistake was bringing us together." Outside the viewport, the human ship now floated peacefully among the sailor fleet. 2 species the Council had dismissed were beginning to change the future of the galaxy. Council leader Jotak stared at the reports with growing concern. 2 weeks had passed since humanity's dramatic exit from the Galactic Council, and things were not going as expected. Pull back protection of human trade routes, he had ordered. Let them see how vulnerable they are without us. Now he regretted that decision. The leader of the pirates who had attacked a human supply ship appeared on the screen before him. The pirate's face was bruised, his ship captured. They were waiting for us, the pirate said, his voice shaking. Their cargo ship was armed with weapons we've never seen before. They disabled our engines with some kind of pulse that went right through our shields. Zhotak dismissed the transmission with a gesture of his upper arms. Similar reports had come in from 3 other sectors. The humans were not behaving like a vulnerable species cut off from Council protection. Security Chief Frank Johnson moved through the lower levels of Central Station, the Council's massive trading hub. His appearance was unremarkable, which made him perfect for his job. Few aliens paid attention to humans anyway. Frank entered a secure comm booth and activated the scrambler hidden in his jacket. Operation Reveal is proceeding as planned, he reported. The Council reduced their patrols exactly as predicted. Our ships have successfully demonstrated the Mason-class weapon systems in 4 separate engagements. On Earth, Ambassador Daniel Collins received the message with satisfaction. He was meeting with representatives from 3 mid-tier Council species who had reached out secretly after humanity's withdrawal. "You understand that these discussions never happened," said the Telvaran ambassador, a short furry being with large ears. "Of course," Daniel replied. "You're simply curious about how humans are surviving outside the Council." The Novellian representative leaned forward. Her crystalline body refracted light as she moved. "We've seen reports of human ships defeating attackers with unknown technology. Technology you never shared with the Council." Daniel smiled politely. "We shared what was required by our treaties, just as every species does." The third visitor, a gas-filled environmental suit containing a Morlin, made a bubbling sound that his translator converted to words. "Many of us have tired of the founding species controlling everything. If humans can survive outside the Council, perhaps others could too." Daniel finished the thought. An interesting idea. Back at Central Station, Council leader Zhotak called an emergency meeting. "We must contain this situation," he told the ruling committee. 3 more species have requested information about withdrawal procedures. The humans are inspiring dissent. A Frillian counselor waved a dismissive hand. "They'll come crawling back within a month. Their colonies can't survive without our protection network." Just then, an aide rushed in with new information. A human diplomatic vessel had been spotted meeting with a fleet of unknown ships beyond Council space. "Impossible," the Frillian said. "No species would ally with humans against the Council." Zhotak was not so certain. "What do we know about these ships?" "Very little," the aide admitted. "But they match some characteristics of the Xalar vessels we dismissed as a minor threat." The chamber went silent. Everyone remembered how they had laughed at human warnings about the Xalar. "Implement the blockade," Zhotak finally ordered. "No human ships enter or leave their territory without inspection. We must show strength." In his office, Frank Johnson received word of the blockade order and smiled. He sent a 1-word message to Earth: engaged. The Council had just played directly into humanity's strategy. By cutting humans off, they were creating exactly the conditions humans needed to demonstrate their independence. On his way out, Frank passed a group of Council members discussing the human situation. "How long can they last?" one asked. "A few months at most," another answered confidently. Frank kept his face neutral, but inside he was laughing. The Council still didn't understand. Humanity hadn't left because they thought they could survive without the Council. They left because they knew they would thrive. Dr. Olivia Grant walked through the Mars Advanced Research Facility. The massive underground complex had existed for 20 years, but officially it was just a small scientific outpost. The Council had never bothered to check. Now the facility buzzed with activity. Scientists and engineers who had hidden their best work for decades were finally free to pursue their ideas openly. Olivia stopped at a large testing chamber where engineer Ryan Cooper was adjusting the final components of the new Hawking drive. "How close are we?" she asked. Ryan looked up with a grin. "It works, Doctor. We completed the final test an hour ago. The drive creates stable wormholes without using the Council's controlled resources. We can mass-produce them within weeks." This was a breakthrough that would change everything. Council species believed humans relied on a rare element called zirconium for faster-than-light travel. The new drive needed only common materials. "Send the schematics to all production facilities," Olivia instructed. Priority Level 1. In another section of the facility, a group of humans worked alongside several Xalar scientists. The first joint research team was exploring ways to combine human and Xalar technology. "Their energy systems are remarkably efficient," Olivia told Ryan as they observed the collaboration. "Combined with our miniaturization techniques, we're creating weapons that are twice as powerful but half the size." Admiral John Carter arrived, looking tired but satisfied. He had been overseeing the refit of Earth's fleet with technologies that had been kept secret for years. "The Xalar representatives are impressed by our progress," John said. "They didn't expect us to be this advanced." "We've had 75 years to prepare," Olivia replied. "Every time the Council denied us something, we found our own way to build it." An alarm suddenly blared through the facility. Security teams rushed toward the eastern section. "Breach in Section E," announced the automated system. "Intruder detected." Ryan checked his tablet. "That's where we keep the AI integration systems." The three of them hurried to the security center. On the monitors, they watched as guards surrounded a Council spy who had somehow infiltrated the facility. "He was trying to access the AI core," said the security chief, "but our systems detected him immediately. He seemed surprised by our security level." John frowned. "The Council still thinks our technology is primitive. They have no idea what we've been developing." The spy was taken away for questioning. Meanwhile, Olivia received a message from the Xalar science team. "They've completed the weapon prototype ahead of schedule," she told John. "And it's 30% more powerful than we predicted." News of these advancements spread quickly throughout human space. After decades of pretending to be less capable, humanity's true potential was finally being realized. On the Council station, news of human technological leaps was causing panic. Stocks in companies that sold technology to humans plummeted. Species that had looked down on humanity began to worry. Admiral Carter met with Olivia and Ryan in the command center. A large holographic display showed human territory and the Council blockade surrounding it. "The blockade is actually helping us," John explained. "They've concentrated their ships in predictable patterns, making them easy to monitor. And they've pulled forces from other regions, creating opportunities for our allies." Olivia pointed to several points on the map. "We've established hidden shipyards here, and here. By the time the Council realizes what we're doing, we'll have doubled our fleet size." Ryan looked at the advanced ships being constructed. "I almost feel sorry for them. They have no idea what's coming." John shook his head. "They had 75 years to treat us as equals. They chose to treat us as inferiors instead. Now they'll learn what humanity is truly capable of when we stop holding back." Outside the facility, the red Martian landscape gave no hint of the revolutionary work happening below. For generations, humanity had played the part of an obedient junior member of galactic society. That masquerade was finally over. The neutral world of Proxima Centauri b bustled with activity. Representatives from 17 different species had arrived secretly over the past week. Many had traveled in unmarked ships to avoid Council attention. Lisa Harrison, now Secretary of Alliance for Earth, stood at the center of the grand meeting hall. Once a junior diplomat forced to sit at the back of Council meetings, she now commanded the attention of every being in the room. "Welcome to the first gathering of the Outer Coalition," she announced. "Each of you represents a species that has been marginalized or mistreated by the Galactic Council. Today, we offer an alternative." Captain Samuel Wright stood nearby. His successful first contact with the Xalar had elevated him to a key position in humanity's new diplomatic efforts. The Xealar commander Vrax stood beside him, a visible symbol of the alliance that had shocked the Council. Many of you have questions about our ability to stand against Council pressure. Lisa continued. Captain Wright will address those concerns. Samuel stepped forward and activated a holographic display. It showed footage of recent encounters between human ships and Council forces. This was 3 days ago at the edge of the Rigel system, he explained as the video showed a small human vessel easily evading Council interceptors. Our new propulsion systems make our ships faster and more maneuverable. The Council's technology has stagnated due to lack of competition. Murmurs spread through the audience. A representative of the Kaldar, a reptilian species with metallic scales, raised a clawed hand. Impressive, but can you match their numbers? The Council fleet outnumbers all of us combined. Samuel smiled. Numbers aren't everything. He changed the display to show a human destroyer facing 3 Council cruisers. This encounter happened yesterday. The audience watched as the human ship fired what looked like a small pulse. The Council ships suddenly went dark, drifting powerless in space. Our EMP technology can disable their systems without causing permanent damage, Samuel explained. We don't need to destroy their ships to render them harmless. Diplomat Michelle Patterson joined the presentation. She had spent years building relationships with species outside the Council's inner circle. Beyond military capabilities, we're proposing a fundamentally different approach to galactic cooperation, she said. The coalition we envision would be based on 3 principles. She displayed them on the screen. 1. Equal voting rights for all member species. 2. Shared technological development. 3. Mutual defense guarantees. No founding species with special privileges, Michelle emphasized. No technology restrictions based on how long you've been a member. True partnership. The representatives talked among themselves. For many, the idea seemed too good to be true. The Xealar commander Vrax stepped forward. My people were labeled as savages by the Council. They refused our requests for diplomatic contact. Humans were the first to approach us with respect. Their actions matched their words. At the back of the hall, 3 observers sat quietly. Though disguised, they were representatives from major Council species who had come to see this meeting for themselves. One leaned toward another and whispered, "The Council told us humans would collapse within months without our support. Instead, they're building a rival alliance." As the meeting continued, Lissa led the representatives through the first draft of a coalition charter. Unlike the complicated 1,000-page Council agreement, the human document was clear and concise. Trade between our worlds will be based on fair exchange, not the Council's tiered system that favors founding members, Michelle explained. Your colonies will be protected by joint coalition forces, not just your own. When the voting began, 16 of the 17 species immediately approved the charter. The last one joined after requesting only minor changes. As the historic meeting concluded, news arrived from Council space. In an emergency session, the Council had declared the newly formed coalition illegal and unauthorized. Lisa shared the news with a smile. They're scared, she told the group. For the first time in centuries, their power is being challenged. Samuel nodded. They'll try to stop us now. But it's already too late. The representatives departed for their homeworlds, carrying with them the seeds of a new galactic order. What had begun as humanity's solitary stand against the Council had become something much bigger. A movement for change that was spreading across the stars. The human colony on Alpha Centauri was beautiful. Blue oceans covered 60% of the planet, and tall mountains reached toward the twin suns in the sky. Over 2 million humans called this world home. Today, they watched as a massive Council fleet appeared at the edge of their system. In the colony's defense center, General Paul Mitchell observed the approaching ships with calm eyes. This was not unexpected. They've sent more ships than our intelligence predicted, said his aide. 43 battlecruisers and over 200 support vessels. Paul nodded. They want to make a statement. This isn't just about forcing one colony back into the Council. It's about scaring everyone else. A communication came through from Earth. President Catherine Wells appeared on the main screen. "General, the Council has informed us they are conducting a peacekeeping action to protect Alpha Centauri from dangerous independence," she said. "They expect us to surrender without a fight." Paul smiled slightly. "Are we ready to show them how wrong they are, Madam President?" "Proceed with Operation Revelation," she confirmed. "The Council needs to understand what they're truly facing." The Council fleet moved into standard attack formation. Their commander, Admiral Zennik of the Frillian Empire, was confident in his overwhelming force. Intelligence reports assured him that the human colony had only basic defenses and a small fleet of outdated ships. "Send the demand for surrender," Zennik ordered. "Give them 1 hour to respond. After that, we disable their orbital platforms to demonstrate our power." What happened next would be recorded in history books across the galaxy. As the Council fleet approached, hundreds of hidden defense platforms suddenly activated in Alpha Centauri's asteroid belt. They had been disguised as mining equipment and normal space debris. At the same time, 30 human warships emerged from concealed bases on the far side of the planet. These weren't the small patrol vessels the Council expected. They were advanced destroyers equipped with technology the Council had never seen. A third surprise came from behind. A Xeeler battle group dropped out of FTL travel directly behind the Council fleet, cutting off their retreat path. Council Admiral Zennik stared at his tactical display in shock. "Impossible," he whispered. "Where did these forces come from?" On the human flagship, Lieutenant Eric Peterson coordinated the defensive response. Eric had been there when humanity walked out of the Council. Now he would help show them why that had been a mistake. "All units in position," he reported. "The Council fleet is surrounded." General Mitchell opened a channel to the Council flagship. "This is General Paul Mitchell of Earth Defense Forces. Your fleet has entered sovereign human space without permission. You will power down weapons and withdraw immediately." Admiral Zennik's face appeared on the screen, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in agitation. "We are here on Council authority to restore order to this colony. Stand down your forces or face destruction." Paul sighed. "Look at your tactical display, Admiral. Your fleet is surrounded by forces with superior position and technology. There is no scenario where you win this engagement." President Wells joined the transmission from Earth. "We don't want bloodshed, Admiral. Power down your weapons and leave our space. This is your only warning." "The Council does not negotiate with rebels," Zennik replied, and cut the transmission. The Council fleet fired first. Energy weapons lanced out toward the human ships. But they hit nothing. The human vessels moved with incredible speed, their advanced engines making them almost impossible to target. The human response was precise and devastating. Instead of destroying the Council ships, they used targeted EMP weapons to disable their systems. One by one, the mighty Council vessels went dark, drifting helplessly in space. Lieutenant Peterson led a boarding party onto the Council flagship. They encountered minimal resistance. Most of the crew were too shocked by their sudden defeat to fight back. On the bridge, they found Admiral Zennik still trying to restore power to his ship. "How?" the Frillian demanded when Eric entered. "How did you defeat us so easily?" The Council said humans were technologically inferior. Eric smiled. "The Council saw what we wanted them to see. For 75 years, we showed them outdated technology while developing our true capabilities in secret. As the disabled Council ships were escorted out of human space, news of the battle spread quickly through both Council and Coalition territories. The mighty Council fleet had been defeated without a single ship being destroyed. The message was clear. Humanity was not to be underestimated again. 1 year had passed since humanity left the Galactic Council. Earth looked the same from space, a blue marble hanging in the darkness. But everything else had changed. A grand meeting hall had been built in Geneva specifically for this day. Representatives from over 40 species filled the room. Half had once been Council members. The other half came from species the Council had ignored or rejected. President Catherine Wells stood at the center podium. Around her were the key figures who had made this moment possible: Admiral John Carter, Dr. Olivia Grant, Captain Samuel Wright, and Lisa Harrison. 1 year ago, we walked away from an organization that never treated us as equals, Catherine began. Today, we welcome you all as true partners in a new galactic community. The Outer Coalition had grown beyond anyone's expectations. Within 6 months of its founding, 12 Council species had withdrawn to join it. Within 9 months, the Council had lost half its members. In the audience sat Sealar Commander Vrax, now the leader of his people's delegation to the Coalition. Beside him were representatives from 23 species that had never been allowed Council membership. Our success came not from military might alone, Catherine continued, but from offering a better vision for cooperation, equal rights, shared technology, mutual respect. The doors at the back of the hall opened. Council leader Joe Tak entered, flanked by representatives from the remaining Council species. The four-armed alien looked tired. The past year had not been kind to the once mighty Council. "We welcome Council leader Joe Tak," Catherine announced, "who comes to Earth not as our superior, but as an equal seeking dialogue." Joe Tak approached the podium. The audience was silent. Many remembered how he had dismissed humanity's withdrawal as a foolish mistake. "The galaxy has changed," Joe Tak said simply. "The Council's way is no longer the only way. We have come to discuss how our two organizations might cooperate rather than compete." It was as close to an apology as the proud Council would ever give. Catherine accepted it with grace. Around Earth orbit, ships from dozens of species filled the sky. Among them was the U.S. Defiant, now famous for making first contact with the Sealar. Captain Samuel Wright stood on its bridge, looking down at his homeworld. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" asked Maria Lopez, standing beside him. Samuel shook his head. "When we left the Council, I hoped we would survive. I never dreamed we would thrive this much." On the Mars Research Facility, Dr. Olivia Grant and engineer Ryan Cooper hosted scientists from 15 different species. The facility had tripled in size over the past year. "The combined knowledge of our species has accelerated research beyond our projections," Olivia told a visiting delegation. "What might have taken decades, we're achieving in months." The newest breakthrough sat on the testing platform, a revolutionary medical device that could cure diseases across different biologies. It was something the Council would have restricted to founding members only. In the Coalition, it would be shared with all. Back in Geneva, Admiral John Carter and Sealar Commander Vrax unveiled plans for a joint exploration mission beyond known space. For too long, the Council focused inward, concerned only with controlling existing territories, John explained. "The Coalition will look outward to discover what lies beyond our current maps." The massive expedition would include ships from 28 species, all working together. As the summit concluded, President Wells and Council leader Joe Tak signed a historic peace accord. It wasn't unification. The Coalition and Council would remain separate organizations with different philosophies. But it was a commitment to peaceful coexistence. Lisa Harrison, who had delivered humanity's withdrawal speech a year earlier, watched with satisfaction. "They never understood what humanity truly offered the galaxy," she said to Catherine as they left the hall. "It wasn't our technology or resources they needed. It was our vision of what cooperation could be." Outside, the night sky was filled with the lights of ships from across the galaxy. Some belonged to old allies, others to former enemies, and many to new friends. When humanity abandoned the Galactic Council, everything had indeed changed. But even the most optimistic humans hadn't predicted just how much better things would become. Not just for Earth, but for countless worlds across the stars.